And welcome back, everybody, to this final episode of our Celebrating Pride podcast. In this series, we've explored many stories, experiences, and hot topics related to pride in healthcare, shared by a wonderful panel of speakers and recorded earlier in 2023. We hope you've enjoyed it and taken many things away from it. In our final episode, our panel will share their key take-home messages, which hopefully you can also take home and implement, reflect on, and share with others.
Right, so our time moves on a pretty pace. We've covered an awful lot today, and I'm really glad that we've managed to be able to have this conversation so open and honest, and we've covered a heck of a lot of ground. And I'm really glad that other people will be able to listen to this and hopefully take a few little nuggets, a little thoughts, or little challenges to their own practice or perhaps their own belief systems from this discussion. One thing I would quite like to do, just to close this off, is just ask a sort of final question to the panel. In fact, what do you think, if you were to take one thing away from our discussion today, what would it be? What would it be the most useful thing from what we've talked about to take away to put into practice? And again, just little thoughts that you've had throughout this discussion. I'm going to talk for another couple of seconds to allow people time to think. I see some. Would anybody like to go first? Andy?
Maybe because we've just been talking about most recently, but the allyship is really foremost in my mind, and perhaps linking that together with what we were talking about, symbols and people feeling safe, actually, and I think it would be nice to go to, because we work together, don't we, James, at the same practice. It'd be interesting on a Thursday morning just to have a brief conversation that we did this, and we talked about these issues of symbols and about allyship, and this is what we talked about. What do people think? Just to include more people in the conversation, and I just think that would be helpful. It would be inclusive. It would get more people thinking about these issues. And if we all did that, and there was some sort of chain reaction, then we'd reach a lot more people, wouldn't we? I don't know what the answers are, and I'm thinking about am I how I can be a better ally, and not just for LGBT issues, but for for other more marginalised groups as well. And I think, Robbie, it was interesting that you found it difficult to define, but it was easy to understand with an example, and that just made me think it's about doing, isn't it? It's about the example, or it's about the actual doing of it. And I thought that was really quite nice. Thanks James and Errum, who's disappeared, for putting this together as well. It's been a really enjoyable time talking with colleagues.
Thank you so much, Andy. Right, Beckie.
I've got a couple of points, I think, both from what we've learned tonight, but also maybe what I might do moving forward. I think the most startling things for me were about it needs to be personalised. It needs to be us not making assumptions, having some curiosity, that professional curiosity, which made me then link on to not talking a talk without walking the walk, and having the courage to be brave enough to do that within all sorts of circumstances. And that brings me to the point of maybe a bit about my role, that I'm here for 9 months on a secondment now. And do I create a network? Is there an appetite for a network, a system network, not just a organisation network, that would allow this kind of conversation to happen across the system, that feeds into a space where we can escalate our thoughts and feelings to those people who can make the decisions? And is that my gift that I can put out there? So that might be something I explore with you guys and others in the coming weeks and months.
Wonderful. Sounds like great conversations to be had, and the process, it feels like it's important here. Is the journey towards this. And we've mentioned the word answers a few times, and I think that actually journey and processes, especially where we are at the moment, in June 2023, we're on a journey towards better. And I think as long as we keep on heading towards better, we'll get there eventually. Robbie.
It kind of, I suppose this is going to sort of overarch a bit of what everybody said. I think that if people don't take anything else away from this kind of listening to this, I think for me it's about being open and receptive to hearing, not just listening, but genuinely hearing and being open to challenge. So if you get it wrong, don't go into defensive mode. If somebody says, oh, that's not quite the right language, go, okay, I'm really sorry, what would you like me to do, and be open to that learning. None of us around this virtual table have all of the answers or know every kind of finite detail of everything, and I think we've probably demonstrated that today, that there's probably more that we don't know than we do know, and that's okay. But it's not a position, particularly clinicians, that we often find particularly comfortable to say, I actually don't know and I've got it wrong, and to go, I'm open to learn from that. We like to have the answers because we like to fix and make it better. So I think for me, it's about being open to listening and genuinely hearing, and then being open to that challenge and to learn from that challenge to make it to make your own knowledge and understanding better.
Thank you so much, Robbie. Laurence, to bring us home.
I think there's lots of things that everybody just said, but I think one thing that stands out is the way that Robbie's described the allyship and just the diversity within the community. I think that's really important, and I think that applies across many sort of areas of the work that we do around EDI agenda as a training hub. I think it's understanding the individual, it's understanding the intersectionality, it's understanding the complexity that's there is really important, and having those frank conversations. And I've forgotten the phrase again, James, questioning with kindness or whatever. I'll borrow that one.
Kindness, kind inquisitiveness.
Kind inquisitiveness, thank you. I think that is really useful, but I think it's got to be balanced in some way, that kind inquisitiveness. But as a training hub, what we're committed to doing is making sure that we do some quality impact assessments on our work to look at how what we do in terms of trying to support the education and development agenda across primary care. We understand where we may be creating barriers, but also where we're trying to remove barriers as well. And I think that's really important. We talk about being accessible, we talk about being inclusive, but actually we've got to walk the walk as well, and we've got to make some steps ourselves. And if Beckie wants to set up a network across the system, I'm up for that. It was a question I asked a while ago of predecessors in the post, and so I'm quite up for that idea that even if it's just some kind of virtual network where it's a Teams chat channel where perhaps we can talk rather than coming together face to face, I think that would be really valuable as an opportunity to carry on this conversation in some way.
Excellent. And I really hope that we can continue with conversations and discussions and forward progress, forward movement in all of this. So I really just want to thank everybody today for their time and their honesty and I suppose the degree of vulnerability as well, because these are really difficult and emotive topics. So thank you so much to the panel, Robbie, Beckie, Errum, Laurence and Andy. It's been a really enlightening and intriguing discussion. Hopefully people listening at home have enjoyed this and found it useful. We'd be really interested to know what you take away from this, so you can communicate with us over the usual social channels, Twitter and Facebook and all those sort of things, or you can send us an email. We want to know what we can do better. We want to know how we can progress with this, so please get in touch. But thank you very much for listening. Thanks to the panel. Good night all, or good afternoon or good morning, depending on when you're listening to this, and have a wonderful week. Thank you so much.